Hi, welcome to the Recovery Daily Podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Abassi. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic and stroke survivor. Sometimes I hesitate. I'm like, should I say good morning? I don't know. It's morning here. It's probably not morning for you. Who knows? But it is 9 a.m. on Christmas Eve, and my kids are here. They're sleeping, or at least they're not willing to leave their bedrooms yet. I just finished up my second meeting. My puppies are sleeping, and I want to make sure that I do my episodes through the holidays because it's something that makes me feel um, very energized and happy. So I want to make sure that I get in all of my necessary recovery activities, even when I have a full house. Today, I wanted to talk about worry, a little about stressing during the holidays, and just talk a little bit about what worry means to me, what my mind does, what stories I tell myself during the holidays. This topic actually came up yesterday when I was talking to my brother and my sister on text. So it's very timely, as is, that's how things happen in recovery. The topic will come up and then it keeps coming up, or at least I'm able to notice it when I'm not drinking. Um, so this morning we talked a little bit about unreasonable fears, and then my next meeting was talking about stressing during the holidays and worrying. And I thought, okay, well, the planets are aligning again. That's what happens, like I said. So I was thinking about what worrying is for me, and I was really writing down questions for myself. Like, what do I fear the most? Like, what do I worry about? And for me, I was thinking, I always worry that the worst is going to happen. Um, and somebody posed a question that made me think, am I hoping that the worst would happen? Like, will happen? Like, do I have some kind of sick relationship with fear and depression? What I do know is that I have this tendency to gravitate towards feeling negative. Um, so my recovery really counteracts that tendency, but I can feel the gravity of it. I can feel the gravity of depression that wants to pull me in. But I have the tools now to be able to identify what's going on between my ears. Um, I sometimes unreasonable fears seem reasonable to me. Like if you were to ask me, like, what am I afraid of? Um, when I say it, when I tell you, it seems like a very reasonable thing to be afraid of. But what is that fear doing to me? For example, my kids were driving here yesterday evening between 4 and 7. That's when they were driving here. And my husband said, do you want to text them and make sure that they don't try to park in the driveway? So we just got this huge, it's huge to us, um, Kia Carnival, which is kind of like a gigantic, it looks like an SUV, even though it is a van. It is not called a minivan. It's called an MPV, a multi-purpose vehicle. Anyway, it's kind of big for us. We're used to having little Mazdas. And so we didn't want it, it takes up more of the driveway than our little Mazdas. And we didn't want one of them to try to pull in and not be able to make it. So I was going to text them and I said, Well, I really don't want them to text and drive. I'm afraid if I text them, they're going to want to look at the phone. So my son doesn't drive, but my daughter does drive. And having experienced a loss recently of a friend of the family due to a car accident. Now, I don't know if this person was texting and driving, but it was a young person and it made me think of that. It made me think about that terrible, my worst fears, coming true. So I was like, I'll text them as they get a little closer, because I'm thinking, well, when they're on the highway, I don't want them to be focused on anything else but the road. Um, and that's kind of my what's the word? Feelings um that I have control over them, what they do. Like if I text them, I don't have control over whether they check the phone or not. I don't have, if I don't text them, I don't have control over whether they check the phone or not. If I'm not texting them, maybe somebody else is. Um, what they need to know is that foundational knowledge, or that uh, cautiousness to not check their phone while they're driving. But that's just a small example of me. Oh, sorry, Boris just stretched and moved the computer. Um, that's my unreasonable fear, really, that the same thing is going to happen to my kids as happened to this young woman recently that we lost. And when I talk about it, it seems reasonable to me. But the unreasonable thing is that I'm going to alter my behavior to try to avoid that happening. And I think that's the unreasonable part. Um, Somebody mentioned this morning about a fear of losing what I have. I think that's what that is, because this morning I was thinking, oh, I don't have a fear that I'm going to lose what I have. But I do. I do. When I say, thy will be done, not mine, at night before I go to bed, um, I am full on afraid of losing what I have, because my brain every single night goes to, I say, thy will be done, not mine. I immediately think of something negative happening where I lose somebody. That's really the main thing, that I lose somebody. Um, and I don't want that to be my default. And with practice, I'm hoping it won't be my default, but right now it is. Um, Another question I posed myself is that, do I have a fear of messing things up? Um, yes. Uh, one of my fears recently is uh, that now that I'm on disability, I work with my long-term disability, with Social Security disability, and I try to save. Well, I don't try. I am saving a percentage of what I get for taxes. And I have this fear that, you know, I'm going to mess up our financial stability, because I always mess up financial things. But the truth is that that's unreasonable. When I was drinking, I was not good with money. Um, that's the truth about it. Ever since I got sober, I have been incredible at money, at managing my money, at not being spending frivolously. And I need to give myself kudos for that. So that fear of messing things up is a fear that I learned. And I learned from myself that I'm not good at stuff, that I'm less than. I talked a lot about that yesterday. Um, I also fear what other people are going to think about uh, about how well I do something. One fear that I have is that when my family comes to visit me, my dad, my stepmom, my mother, my sister, my brother, I have a fear that they are going to think that I'm less than, that I don't keep my house clean enough, that I'm not good with disciplining my dogs. And I don't know why I have that. It could be because I'm the youngest, and I always have felt like I'm not as good at things as everybody else. That Rachel always learns things the hard way because I did in my past. When I was drinking, I learned things the hard way. Not drinking, sometimes I still I still push my limits to see how far I can go before I mess things up. But I worry about what other people think. Mostly my loved ones, that's what I worry about the most. And that really just interrupts my serenity. Um, Worrying that like my kids came for the holiday and they brought their cats. So I have these two dogs, a Weimaraner and an English Bulldog. The Weimaraner, so this is what I have envisioned, that the Weimaraner and the Bulldog are going to meet. And they're going to, in barking language, figure out how are they going to kill the cats upstairs. And the Weimaraner is going to use her nose to push one of the doors open. And the Bulldog is the one that's going to run in at his lightning speed. It's really weird when the fat dog, it can be really fast, but he drops down. I always say he drops down like one of those lowrider trucks that they have. If you ever watch those auto shows, they have these like auto builders that will make a truck like have all this automation and stuff. So they have some where the truck will actually drop down. So there's just like that much distance between the bottom of the truck and the street. And I envision my bulldog as one of those trucks. And when he's ready to move like really fast, he drops. He drops down closer to the ground and he's just as off and running. And he is hard to grab a hold of when he does that. And he does not get along with other furry creatures. So I just have this vision of my dogs like in cahoots, and they're going to go in and kill these poor little beautiful, precious kitty cats. So it's my brain thinking of what is the worst thing that can happen. And I have actually played the whole tape through, like what it would be like how are we going to get these cats the help that they need? What if, and I'll go to the next phase, like what if the injury is so bad that we can't get them to the doctor fast enough? Like it's really it becomes unreasonable. The reasonable part is let's make sure that the doors are shut and clicked. You know how sometimes you can shut a door and it's not clicked? Um, well, let's make sure that they're shut and clicked, and then we don't have to worry about it. Like, let's make sure when we go in and out of the rooms that the cats don't get out. That's the reasonable side of fears. The rest of it is unreasonable. And it's that like I was gonna say fear, but that thought that I'm almost hoping that the worst would happen. I don't hope that anything happens to these cats, but why do I live in that fear? Why do I allow myself to listen to my self-talk and these stories and play them out to a point of morbidity, you know? Um, it's like I am allowing my past, bad things that have happened in my past. And no, I've never had a cat attacked by a dog, but I have had so much experience with the worst thing happening, or what I thought might have been the worst thing that would happen, or bad things happening, good things don't happen to me, that kind of thing, that I sabotage the present. I don't sit and enjoy what's happening. And that leads me to the holiday season. Um, there's a lot of reasons to be depressed during the holidays. There just is. Um, and it's up to us to make the season enjoyable. And what I mean by there are a lot of reasons to be depressed during the holidays, for me, I'm only speaking from my experience, obviously, but one thing that gets me sad is that the past is gone and it's never coming back. That those memories I have of quietly sneaking down the stairs with my brother to cheat and see what we got from Santa before my mom woke up, or peering over the balcony and looking to see what's in my stocking, what Santa got me. Um, Memories of riding in the car at night on Christmas Day home from my grandparents' house after having been in their nice warm house and eating our Christmas meal. Um, Memories of getting to see my dad on Christmas Day at my grandparents' house. Like at my grandparents' house, we would get there like in the early afternoon, and it would be my dad, my brother, my stepmother, my mom, my sister, my grandmother, and my grandfather, and my uncle. We would all be together, and it was a guarantee. It was a guarantee every year that these people were going to be here. Nothing was going to change. It would happen every year. And it was such a comforting time in my life, something that I could trust that was always going to happen. What I didn't know was what my mom and my dad were doing, and my stepmother were doing in order to come together for the kids. You know, obviously there was stuff that happened in their past that made their relationship be what it was, where my mom and my dad were divorced and my dad married my stepmother. But for them to put all of that aside and come together for the kids was something I was too young to understand or notice. And as I got older and started to realize that there was discomfort that wasn't mine, but that was among the adults. And eventually, that tradition of us getting together was over. Um, you know, what I recall is that I recall the first time my dad didn't come, and we just went to my grandparents. And then my grandmother ended up um, having a stroke, and then it stopped. The whole thing stopped. And I recognized at that time that it was over and it was never going to happen again. And that made me very sad. And it made me very sad for years that that time is lost. It's never coming back. What I've tried to do since I've been sober is to change my mindset from that time is lost to it's time to create those memories for my kids. And that time started when I was mourning the loss of my memories of Christmas. And that's unfortunate that I wasn't able to recognize what was happening right in front of me. And instead I was looking to the past and recognizing that I lost what I had, you know? And I think that my fear of abandonment that I've talked about a lot on this podcast, that is related to this. And I find myself sometimes sabotaging my present holiday in order to stay in the past. And as hard as it is, as it's not hard, it's easy, but it makes difficult feelings come up. I think it's easy to shift my mindset to the here and now. It's just a decision that I have to make to think about my holidays today and the just incredible joy that I feel when my kids are here. Like last night, my son, my daughter, and I just sat up and we were just laughing, you know? And it's awesome. We were talking about their relationships, their family relationships, their memories of Christmas. And that's where I need to focus today. I don't need to look at my past as something that's gone and it's never coming back because it's not gone. It's right up here. It's still between my ears and it's nobody can ever take that away from me. I have been learning, and it's going to take a lifetime, I feel like, because it's going to happen again. Things are going to change again. My holidays are going to change again. There's going to be a time that my kids have their own families. And if I can get this right, where I am grateful for the memories that I have and that they still stay locked safe in here, if I can master that, then when the time comes and my holidays change again, that I'm going to be so much better for it. That I'm going to be able to share with my kids, look, those memories that we have of growing up, of you kids growing up and us being together, those memories, we get to keep them for the rest of our lives. Nobody can take those away from me. It's my turn to share with my kids, how do we do it? How do we move forward? How do we cherish our memories and create new ones? That's been my focus since I got sober, but it didn't occur to me until I was sober for a few years to do this, to practice it every year so that when it's time when my kids start sharing their, possible sadness about how the past is gone and it's not coming back.
Mhm.
I can say, it's not gone. It's it's lodged in my memory and it's lodged in your memory. And I can bring it back up. I can sit in silence and close my eyes and I can be right there. I can be right there in my grandparents' house. And I want to make sure that I share that capability with my kids. Somebody reminded me today in my second meeting that alcoholism is not just drinking. Alcoholism is what happens between my ears without the alcohol, and how I can tend to be so wrapped up in self, and how important it is and how healing it is for me to focus outward, rather than focusing inward. I'm not ignoring it. I'm learning how to manage it. Instead of preparing every year to be disappointed, like, let me get excited for what I can build, what new memory I can build and lodge that in there too between my ears. Um, and I think above all, be compassionate toward myself and say, you know what, Rachel, it's okay and it's normal to miss what I used to have, but there's so much to look forward to. And I have to actually have that conversation with myself. And the more I can practice that, the more that I'm going to be able to master that and share it with my kids when the time comes. So, um, happy Christmas Eve. And I hope you guys have just so much joy in your hearts in sobriety, in stroke recovery, whatever it is that we are recovering from today. Let it be joyful, and let us build new memories together. Uh, so thanks so much for listening. Happy holidays, and I will talk to you tomorrow.